Well, some people may not quite like this one. Hey, Dan Hall here of Dan H411 Guitar Lessons. I've got a lesson on here every single week. Sometimes, like this week, I might take a little break from specific lessons and do something a little bit different. This is going to be a little bit of commentary for you. But at the same time, if this message speaks to you, then it is a lesson in and of itself. One of the things that I aspire to do is to teach what I know, but also to learn more so that as I teach, I have more to offer, more value to offer, more lessons to offer, more ideas that I can put out there to help you with your own journey of guitar playing. Because I want you to just be able to pick up the guitar and go, and teaching is something that I want to be able to always get better at, just like I want to help you always get better at your guitar playing. So there's an old saying, it goes something like, if you tell me, I may forget. If you show me, I may remember it. If you let me do it, then I'll definitely remember it. And then if you let me teach it, then I'll become a master of it. It's something like that. It's been attributed to the Hopi Native Americans. It's been attributed to Benjamin Franklin. It's been attributed to Confucius, but I don't think, I looked at the etymology of it, and I don't think anybody knows exactly where it came from. I could be wrong about that. And that little tail end part there, that the teacher becomes the wisest person, I've heard that added, but it's not always in the original saying. The idea there being that when you experience something, when you do something, it definitely makes you a better student. Absolutely. But at the same time, if you open yourself up to being a teacher and to showing others how to do what you do, then it helps you unlock some things that you may have not even realized until you start teaching. For instance, there may be things that you want to teach. In my case, that's been true. There may be some things that I want to teach you, and then as I'm working on that lesson, I'm realizing that, oh, I've been able to play this. I've been able to get up on stage and play this live, but actually teaching this and telling you what I'm doing, I have no idea. It's so locked into my muscle memory, or I found shortcuts that I really don't know either what I'm doing or I don't know what I'm doing at all, right? It's either I don't know what I'm doing and my shortcuts are allowing me to cover up my mistakes, or I'm doing it well, but I just don't know what I'm doing. So this applies to pretty much any form of knowledge. A skateboarder teaching somebody how to do a kickflip, or a martial artist teaching somebody how to do a hold and a lock, anything like that. People know how to do things, but they don't know how to show people how to do it. So is their understanding of what they're doing that great? And after teaching for a while, teaching guitar playing for a while, I've definitely uncovered a lot of those things and have learned that there are many things that I've wanted to show, but I decided to scrap those things until I've gotten better at them and really unlocked for myself exactly how to do those things. And there's some things that I've only scratched the surface because I'm not really good at doing those things, but I can do a little bit, and I want to show you some things that will allow you to go ahead and further in your guitar practice. Even though I'm not great at doing what I'm showing you, I can at least kind of carry you along with me. As I learn, you can learn as well. So that's kind of what the focus of today's lesson is. And again, it's not going to be a whole lot of tabbing things out and showing you what to play on the guitar so much as it's going to be me talking about things that I'm not really that good at. Matter of fact, it's going to be 10 things that I really suck at. But the whole point of this is I know that. I'm aware of that. I'm aware of these weaknesses. I often play to my strengths, but I'm aware of my weaknesses. And I want to show you that, hey, there's a lot of things that I suck at, but as I recognize this, as I look at myself and I look at my own guitar playing and I'm self-aware, and I say to myself, hey, I do suck at these things. How do I get better? That's what I want to help you understand as well. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to, have all kinds of things that, oh, I don't know how to do this and I don't know how to do this. Or I'm learning how to do something, but it's kind of making my guitar playing sound bad because the learning process is going to do that. And then realizing that, hey, I'm self-aware of that. So because of that, it's going to help me improve. So this is my way of saying, hey, if you're learning and you're getting frustrated, let me let you know right now that I get frustrated all the time. And it is something that you have to step back, sometimes put the guitar down for a couple of days, and then come back to it and say, okay, I do have a problem with that one piece or that one thing or those multiple things, and I know what I need to work on. I know I need to improve, so I'm going to work on getting better. So without further ado, let's get into this lesson. 10 things that I suck at that hopefully will help you understand that if we can be self-aware of that, we can always improve our own playing. All right, the first one is going to be pentatonics. Now, this may come as a surprise to you because I've taught quite a few pentatonic lessons on this channel. Usually I'll start out with that first box of the pentatonic, like the A minor pentatonic. And then I'll show you how you can use that to move shapes around or move into the second box or the third box. Matter of fact, I think I'm in the middle of a Licks and Tricks series right now, and I know I'm interrupting that, and I do apologize, but there's a part 3 coming up and there's a part 4 coming up on that, and if I remember correctly, that is over some pentatonic shapes. Like I showed you some different licks and tricks that you can use with the first box of the pentatonic, connecting to the second box of the pentatonic, and in the third part and the fourth part, and I think I'm going to continue on my Patreon as well, over at patreon.com/DanH411. I'm going to probably add in some additional pentatonic boxes. I might even explore all 5 pentatonic boxes and show you how you can connect those together using various anchor shapes that are actually found within the pentatonic shapes. And that's coming up in a couple weeks, and I'll finish 3 and 4 of that, and then we'll move on to something else. I'm going to keep coming back to things like that because as I learn more and as I progress more, I want to show you even more. Like I said, carry you along. But again, I'm in the middle of a pentatonic series, right? And I think I did one before. So why am I saying I'm bad at pentatonics? Because I'm not good at pentatonics. I mean, I know that. There are a lot of players out there, people like Zach Wild, people like Slash, who could run circles around me with pentatonics. And the reason is, for me, my guitar journey started when I was around 13 years old, when I had a friend of mine show me some various things in the guitar. One of the first things I learned was that first box of the natural minor pentatonic. And I didn't really have a teacher after that. Like, he showed me a couple things, but that was it. And then I kind of gravitated towards learning cowboy chords. And eventually in my 20s, I picked up a lot of acoustic guitars and became a singer-songwriter. And I'm not the greatest singer in the world, but I really wanted to go in that direction. Just, write a lot of songs that I could sing. When I hit my 30s, probably mid-30s, I moved into, hey, I really want to play lead guitar, right? I want to play lead guitar like all my heroes did on MTV in the 80s. And I went to a teacher, the guy that I actually still go to. His name is Kevin Dillard, and he's written some really cool books, Arpeggio Madness and IntelliShred. I've mentioned those in previous videos. Check those out. And he showed me the modes and the 7-note scales, or the diatonic scales. So that pentatonic scale, which looks like this, oops, not that. He showed me the 7 notes, right? And what I did was I basically looked up the shapes and started understanding the circular nature and how they lock together like puzzle pieces, things that I explore in my course at tinyurl.com/DanH411. And I didn't take classes with him that long. I wound up moving to another city, and I'm back in the city where I took lessons from him now, but I wound up moving to another city, and I wanted to get into a band. Got into a band. I played horribly because I didn't quite understand exactly what I was doing. And then later on, maybe a couple years later, I explored that again, got into another band. And when I got into another band, I really pushed myself that I want to be able to get on stage and play in tune, right? Play in key. That was the biggest thing, was I don't play in key. I'm playing all over the place, and I need to learn how to play in key. So I really, really pushed myself to understand modes and scale shapes, how they lock together, how I can move them all over the fretboard. And it was a lot of self-learning. I mean, I learned from a lot of videos and books and things like that, but at the same time, it was a lot of me copying and pasting and taking a little bit from here, a little bit from there, a little bit from here, a little bit from there, and really understanding things in my own unique, my own crazy way. And what wound up happening was I got to the point where I could play things like this. So I'm using anchor shapes to move the positions up and down and pretty much play in the key that I want to play in, and being able to kind of head back to that shape that fits over whatever key. But it's mostly 7-note scales. So after a while, I got into a band with a buddy of mine who plays guitar, and he gravitated more towards that first box of the pentatonic. A lot of players do that. A lot of players call that the rock scale, right? And they take that scale and they move it up and down, and they can play it starting on the root note of whatever root note they're playing in, whatever key they're playing in, and then they can play that first box all over the place. Some people can add additional boxes, move the shape up and down, or they just play octaves. Like a good trick that a lot of people use is they'll play that first box like this is the A minor pentatonic. And you see on the fourth and the third strings, you're playing that 5-7, 5-7, which means I can move that back to the octave, and I could play the 3-5, 3-5 on the sixth and the fifth strings. And then I can move up to the first and the second strings, and I can play the 8 and the 10. So that allows me to extend the whole shape. Back and forward without playing additional boxes. A lot of people do that. A lot of people use just those octave shapes and the actual first box of the pentatonic to create some really awesome licks. It's very common in rock music, and it's something that I really never did. I'm learning 7-note shapes. I'm going up and down the fretboard with all of them, and I learn all 7 positions of any particular key, and I was good with that. But weirdly enough, that limited me to that. It still does to this day, because I don't really go outside of that much. And when I play with the pentatonic, I always have to think about it. The same thing when I play with like the harmonic scale or the harmonic minor scale, things like that. I've always got to really, really think about it, because it's not right in my muscle memory. I spent more time with the natural minor scale or the positions of the natural minor scale, which is pretty much all your modes, and I haven't really spent a whole lot of time working with pentatonic. So that's basically what happened there. So as I show you pentatonic lessons, a lot of that is me wanting to teach you this because I want to learn it myself. So I'm learning it as I'm teaching it to you. So as you're picking it up, I'm learning additional stuff, and then, like I said, carrying you along with me. So going back to my original story about how you can learn as you teach, or teaching helps unlock things that you may not know and you may not have even realized that you don't know. That's exactly one of those things that this has helped me understand, is that there's a lot to learn here, and there's a lot of stuff to unpack in the pentatonic, and I'm enjoying doing that, and I'm hoping that you'll stick with me, because in the future I'll be a whole lot better at this, along with the other things that I'm going to talk about in this lesson. Everything here that I'm working on is just going to keep increasing, improving, putting more of that into my own vocabulary so I can help you understand that as well. Once again, thank you for checking out the lessons that I have on here every single week. And don't forget to go on over to tinyurl.com/danh411 and get my free 7-day guitar course that'll help you just learn how to pick up the guitar and go, right? Pick it up, play with ease and confidence by training your muscle memory and training your fingers to go where you want them to go on the fretboard every single time, so that you can go ahead and, like I said, just pick up the guitar and go and solo intuitively and play guitar leads over any song in any key anytime you want to, even if it's 4 o'clock in the morning and you don't mind waking the neighbors. So again, that course, 7-day lead guitar course from Dan H411 Guitar Lessons, is at tinyurl.com/danh411. Okay, so that's my left hand. Now let's look at my right hand. One of the things I'm really bad at with my right hand is picking. So I've always been more or less an alternate picker, and with my left hand I do a lot of legato. But I've never really been good at various types of picking. So you've got your hybrid picking, you've got your chicken picking, you've got your finger style picking, you've got economy picking, and there's a lot of stuff that I've been playing with lately that I'm probably not ready to teach yet, but some of it involves hybrid picking, stuff like this. Let's see if I can do this. That wasn't too bad. That's a little hybrid picking exercise I've been working on. A little economy picking exercise I've been working on, where I'm going down, right? I'm going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Right? I'm basically, when I'm in between two strings, I'm hitting one down and one up. And then after I go up, I'm going back down on that string. After I go down on the next string, I come back up on the next string. Right? So that's economy picking. I'm working on that a little bit. I'm working on the hybrid picking. I am working a little bit on maybe a little bit on chicken picking, some things that some guy recently showed me, which I thought was kind of cool, that I want to play around with. There's a lot of people doing things like this. You got your Tim Hensons, you've got your John Fives, and it all goes back to like the old school stuff with Roy Clark, where a lot of people are taking some guitar concepts that the shredders of the 80s and recently aren't really exploring, but there's a lot of new players who are exploring those things, and I find them very interesting, and I want to try playing with some of that. So again, just taking things that, watching somebody on YouTube do it and going, oh, wow, that's very interesting. I want to check that out, and I want to figure out how to do that. And it may be something I could put in my muscle memory. It may not. It depends on my skill set. It depends on if my fingers are going to want to cooperate with me, right? There's all kinds of variables. But that doesn't mean I don't want to play around with it and get to the point where I can at least be good enough to show you how to do it. So if you want to take it and run with it, you can. Because it's not about me teaching you how to play like I play. It's about me showing you how to play so you can figure out the way you want to play and how you want to express yourself on the guitar. So that's just something I'm aware that I'm not very great at, and I want to keep working on it. I know that some of these things can create really unique sounds, like hybrid picking, for instance, and other things can help you build speed, like economy picking. So just working on those things, I think it's going to help me become a better player. And then in future lessons, I might incorporate some of this stuff and help you understand how to do it as well. Okay, this one I think most people are aware of because I've done a few videos out there, and I put some shorts out there with tapping and sweeping, and some people have already picked up on it that I'm not really that great at it, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with people understanding that I'm not really that great at it. So when I, pick up sweep shapes like this, sometimes they're sloppy, right? If I do tapping, a lot of the tapping that I've been gravitating towards has been in between like two pentatonic shapes, or some of the diatonic stuff like I've been doing this. And again, it's been sloppy. It hasn't been the most cleanest sounding stuff in the world, but it's something that I've been working on. And what I just did just then, right, just off the cuff, was light years ahead of what I was doing 6 months ago. Because I've been practicing, and I've been practicing, and I've been practicing. I want to get better at it. I want to get better at it. I want to put it into my muscle memory so that I can just pick up the guitar and find those shapes really quickly and have some go-to shapes. And you add one go-to shape, you add another go-to shape, you add another go-to shape. You just keep adding go-to shapes until you get to the point where you've got, a couple dozen sweeps, a couple dozen tapping licks, and you know where to fit them in the scale shapes so that no matter what key you're playing in, you can just go right to that. And that's exactly what I've been working on. So again, it's just me learning things so I can bring you along with me. And I know that I'm not that great at it. So you might ask yourself, why did I do that Swola sweeps lesson? Or why do I do any of the sweeps lessons or tapping lessons that I've done? Like I entered the Jerry Dines contest and I did this whole tapping thing. Why did I even do that if I'm not good at tapping and sweeping? Because you want to challenge yourself. Okay, I want to challenge myself. I want to keep progressing and keep getting better. And if you don't try something and then figure out your mistakes and then keep working on it, keep working on it, keep working on it until you get better and better and better, then you're never going to get better. Now, that is, of course, a value thing, right? Do you value getting better? Do you want to get better? That's up to you. If you don't want to get better and that doesn't appeal to you and you're happy with where you're at, then that's fine. For years, I was happy with where I was at, playing the diatonic scales, playing the 7-note scales, using the anchor shapes to move back and forth. And when I started teaching guitar lessons, that's exactly what I had planned on doing. This is all I'm going to teach. But the more I started playing with it, the more I started saying, well, you know what? It'd be really cool if I threw a really shreddy tapping lick here, or if I could sweep right here. And the more I thought about that, the more I said to myself, I want to learn how to tap. I want to learn how to sweep. I want to learn how to play more arpeggios. I want to start unlocking the fretboard even further. But I want to do it within my own unique, my own little crazy way of understanding the fretboard, which is that circular nature and how the scale shapes lock together like puzzle pieces. I want to keep looking at it that way. So how can I incorporate my new knowledge with my old knowledge? How can I synergize them? And that's exactly what I've been doing. So everything that I teach you with that foundational course that I start off with at tinyurl.com/danh411, everything that I teach you involves the circular nature of the fretboard and the circular nature of the scale shapes. And in future courses, that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be showing you how you could take every single one of these concepts and apply them to that circular nature so you can just move things all over the place. So no matter what key you're playing in, you can say, okay, I want a tapping part here. Then you don't have to sit there and map it out in your brain where you're going to tap. You just know that this is the scale shape that I'm playing. That means I need to tap 3 frets up from that, and there we go. Bam, I'm done. That's going to make it so much easier, and I feel like that's what I can offer to this, because not a whole lot of people are teaching it this way. It's not 100% unique to me, but it's just the way that I understand it, and I really think that it will benefit you as well. Okay, this is one I need to work on, and I'm resistant to this because I'm a child of the 80s metal scene, and this is long before the invention of the fret wrap. But now people are putting scrunchies or socks or fret wraps on their guitars to keep the excessive string noise off. And if you listen to me play, you can hear all that, you can hear all of that. And I'm getting better at palm muting, and that's really what I want to work on. I really want to get better at palm muting when I tap, palm muting when I sweep, and things like that. I could, of course, turn down the gain. That's something that I might want to consider doing. But I could also get that fret wrap, right? I'm pretty bad about excessive noise, and when I record, a lot of times I blend it into the mix, or I cover it up in the mix. And that works for me. I'm not the most professional, recorder. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But the reason I do that is because, I want to get that music out there oftentimes. And sometimes I can't play as clean as I want to. But again, that's a value thing. A lot of people are extremely clean players. It kind of irks me when I see somebody who's an insanely clean player and they're not using a fret wrap, and I'm like, oh my goodness, how are they so clean? But that's something I want to explore as well, learn that. Now, I'm more of a player and I'm not so much a tone chaser. So a lot of this has to do probably with my tone. I could probably back off on the distortion. I could probably, turn the delay off a little bit. There's probably things that I can do, maybe even swap pickups, that could allow me to be a cleaner player without doing too many changes to my actual playing. But I also want to explore my playing itself and figure out exactly where the noise is coming from and how I can play cleaner. And a lot of that slipping and slide with my palms up and down the strings is definitely creating excessive string noise. Now, in a band situation and even in a recording situation, it oftentimes doesn't matter because you can cover up the mistakes by burying them in the mix. That happens all the time. If you listen to the stems of very famous guitar players, you'll hear all kinds of excessive string noise. If they're playing a guitar with a Floyd Rose or a tremolo, you'll hear the springs in the back clicking and clacking around. You'll hear the resonance from the strings behind the nut. You'll hear all that, but you don't hear it in the mix, and you don't hear it in a live performance because it's covered up. Or if you do hear it, it actually comes off sounding as ambient and like it's supposed to be there. So there's a trade-off. There's good and bad, but some people can just play so cleanly and it is so awesome. Like, for instance, me, when I play cleanly and I don't have a backing track on, I feel like that's not really my strength. I feel like I'm a stronger guitar player when I'm playing in a mix, when I have a backing track going. Some people can just pick up the guitar and just play and shred and sound amazing without any backing track, without any band behind them at all. And that's awesome. And I would like to aspire to get to that point eventually. And I think a lot of that has to do with me making sure that I control my fingers a little bit better. And that will also limit some of the string noise that I have. All right, so that brings me to number 5. Number 5, and I've already talked about this a little bit, is my tone. My tone isn't the best. So I am currently playing through the stock pickups on this guitar, which are the actual Gibson pickups. This is one of the new 2024 Gibson Customs, inspired by Gibson, I should say, Epiphone LP Customs. And it's got the Gibson pickups in it, the 490T, 498R, 498T, 490R, whatever they are. So it's got the real pickups in there, and it's got really good wiring. It's got all the right CTS and switchcraft and all that. So it's a really well-made guitar, and it sounds good. I'm going through some high-quality amps. I've got Laney Ironheart 60s, really nice amps, but they're tube amps, and tube amps respond a little bit differently than digital amps. So I don't dial in my tone to be 100% the best. I'm not a huge tone chaser. I think I left my treble, my mid, and my bass where they were a year ago, since the last time I played in a band, 5 years ago, which I need to get back out there and play in a band again because I really want to get back on stage, which is why I kept my half stack, because I want to get out there and play again. And I like recording the amp, but at the same time, I'd probably have better tone for this kind of thing, for, playing in my bedroom in recordings. I'd probably have better tone if I just went through like a digital modeler. But my tone isn't horrible, but again, I'm not a tone chaser, so I probably don't have the best tone. That was a bad note. But you could hear the tone combined with the sloppiness of my playing sometimes, combined with the excessive string noise. You can hear that the tone isn't the greatest. Now, a lot of people say tone's in the fingers. So tightening up my playing is going to help my tone improve. And then Also, maybe changing the settings of my amp a little bit is going to help my tone improve. So when I record, one of the things I'm trying to make sound better is the lead or the solo itself and how it sounds in the mix. And that is one of the things that I'm also working on. But I'm not a recording engineer, and I also don't spend my time, which a lot of people do, but I don't really spend my time chasing that tone. Like, I'm not trying out a different amp every week. I'm not playing with a lot of digital modelers. I'm not using a computer to record. I actually use a little desktop recording device from Zoom. So a lot of the things that I do are not typical of what typical bedroom players and recorders do, which means that I'm lacking in that area a little bit. Something I might want to consider working on. I got a friend who uses Pro Tools and does all the fancy recording on the desktop, has the big screen, looks like he's in Star Trek when he records, and he's got the Focusrite and all the different plugins, and it's just amazing. And he's tried to sit me down before and show me how to do it. And one of these days, I might just sit down and purchase all that stuff and try to become a better recorder, which is going to improve my tone. But for now, I'm working on becoming a better player. So there's a trade-off. You only have so much time in a day, so which one am I going to choose to spend my time on? For right now, it's playing. So one thing you might have noticed, and this is number 6, is that when I teach, I often make silly mistakes. Now, you may not see them as much on my YouTube channel because I do a lot of cuts. So on my YouTube channel, what you may have noticed is that I'll be talking, and then in the middle of a sentence, there'll be a cut, and then it'll pick up, and the volume might be a little off, and you might be thinking to yourself, okay, there was a cut there. And every now and then you might see cut after cut after cut after cut after cut. And what happens is, while I'm teaching, I'll often make silly mistakes. And a lot of those mistakes that I make have to do with where I'm at on the fretboard, or the names of the notes, and things like that. Like, for instance, there was just a cut. So those mistakes a lot of times come from the fact that this is uncomfortable. I don't think a lot of people who aren't YouTubers don't quite understand how uncomfortable it is to stand in front of the green screen, have all the lights around you, and be trying to remember exactly everything that you want to teach, and try to make it as concise as possible, and not stutter, not stammer over your words, and speak in a way that is understanding. I don't have the feedback, like I'm not talking to a person right now, but I'm pretending like I'm talking to a person. So normally, if I was having a conversation with a person, they would interrupt me, they would ask me questions, they would point out when I'm doing something wrong, or if they needed clarification, they would ask for it. The whole process of doing this by myself in front of a camera is I'm sitting here thinking to myself, well, did I make that point clear? Is somebody going to watch this and ask themselves, what did he just say, and not understand it? Or is it going to be clear to them? And even worse, I probably repeat myself over and over and over again because I'm thinking to myself, maybe I didn't make that very clear, so let me say it again, right? Which is what I just did. But I'm in front of all these lights. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lights on me. It makes it warm in here. And of course, I'm in front of the green screen. I'm watching myself on the camera, and I'm making sure that I don't go too far over to the right or too far over to the left and go off the green screen. There's just so many things that are going through my mind as I'm teaching. So I make a lot of mistakes as I teach. And I don't think that's something people really are aware of when they're watching people making tutorial videos, that there is a lot that goes into this, especially when you're doing it by yourself. Because it's not that I can just get in front of the camera and just start teaching. After this, there's the whole process of me sitting down and editing all this down, taking out all the bad parts, adding in any tabs if I need to, things like that. And of course, all of that, every single one of those is a variable that can lead to me missing something and leaving a mistake in the video, or just making a mistake as I'm teaching. It happens. So a lot of times in my videos, I try to make them silly, and I put a little something on the video that, says something that I did that was wrong and points it out. I think I said, what did I say? Well, right there, I'll leave that in. Instead of saying, what did I say? I said, what did I said? So I'll just put that in there and just show you that's a mistake. So I could have edited that out. I could have re-said that, but I just left it in because I just wanted to make my point. One time I was teaching vibrato, and I said vibrato, and oftentimes I stammer over my words. I'm a fan of Beavis and Butthead, and Beavis says interesting, and I notice sometimes that instead of saying interesting, I say interesting, and it's just one of those things where when you're teaching, you're very cognizant of everything that you're doing, and it's not like having that personal connection between a teacher and a student. That's why I do my bare bones Bottega, which is over on my Patreon at patreon.com/DanH411. What I do over there is I just sit on my couch and I teach. And unless it's something really messed up, I try not to edit anything out. So I make tons of mistakes and I leave those mistakes in. And that's part of the reason I do that is because I want people to see that, hey, the mistakes are there. If we were actually sitting next to each other and I was teaching you, you would see all these mistakes. The hope is that I catch all of them so that it feels like we're sitting there talking to each other, and when I catch my mistakes, it's almost like you caught the mistake and you said, hey, you made a mistake. And then I can say, oh, yeah, we're supposed to be on the 3rd fret, not the 4th fret, right? And then I can go ahead and keep on going. So it's a trade-off. I want to create the polished stuff for you right now, which is why I do a lot of editing, but just be aware that the mistakes are there. And any guitar teacher who's out there teaching you anything online, unless they're, a maestro, they're making tons of mistakes and they're either editing them out or you're not seeing the first take, right? You're seeing another take, 2nd take, 3rd take, 4th take, 5th take, whatever. I think this is the 2nd take I've done of this video, and I've still made mistakes and I've still got to go in and edit some of them out. Okay, the number 7 thing that I suck at, which leads to a lot of the mistakes that I make, is that I haven't memorized all the notes on the fretboard. For that matter, and this is silly, but I haven't even memorized the numbers. This is where it gets really interesting. I can find the shapes by using the training that I have, where I've trained my muscle memory in my fingers to find anchor shapes. It's kind of the core of what I teach with the circular reasoning, all that stuff. If you can find these anchor shapes, you can gravitate back towards them, and you can find the key where those anchor shapes fit, then you can move the anchor shapes all over the fretboard. So like if I was in the key of A minor, and I wanted to use those anchor shapes, then I can go ahead and gravitate from one position to the next position to the next position using those anchor shapes. Now I started out on the 5th fret, but oftentimes when I teach, I miscount. I'm just looking at it quickly. It's just like I said with those silly mistakes. I got all the lights around me. I'm thinking, am I on the green screen correctly? Am I teaching it clearly? And I'm thinking about all these things in my head, and I say, okay, we're going to start on the 7th fret. Really, I'm on the 5th fret. And then I spend a bulk of the lesson saying that I'm playing 7, 9, 10, when really I'm playing 5, 7, 8. And it's not that I can't count. It's just that, my brain, it, gets a fugue state and it's like, okay, where am I at? What am I doing? It's the same thing with the notes. I know where, the majority of my notes are, my core notes, your A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? All that stuff. But you ask me to find an A sharp or a B flat, I'm going to be struggling for a minute just to find out where that is. And that, again, is because I haven't trained myself to know exactly where to go to on the fretboard to find the right notes. But if you play me a song and I can just go ahead and noodle around for a few seconds and find that key, and once I'm in that key, I'm locked in. My fingers know exactly where to go, and you could tell me to stop. You could say stop, and I'm on this note. And you can say, what note are you playing right there? I say, I have no idea. I have to go look at it, right? Okay, so that's open third string. It's the octave of the open third string. So that's my G. So I'm playing a G. All right, if I was playing a minor, I was playing G minor. If I was playing major, I was playing G major. Right? So that would take me a second to figure out. Now, it's good to know your octaves, especially your more common octaves like your E and your A. It's good to know where all your octaves are, to know that you can play one here, play one here, play one there, play one there. It's good to know that. But do you need to memorize every single note on the fretboard? A lot of guitar teachers say you do. A lot of guitar teachers say that you need to know exactly where you're at everywhere on the fretboard. I'm not going to argue against that. All I'm going to say is for me, it's something I might explore in the future. But for right now, I'm very comfortable with playing using that technique that I've developed where I can find the key, I can find the anchor shapes, and I can play back and forth. Now, some people need to be told, hey, we're in the key of A. Maybe they can't train their ear. Maybe they have a hard time with that. So they need somebody to tell them, hey, we're in the key of A, and these are the specific notes using the cage method or the circle of fifths or something like that that we're going to play. Or maybe they're using triads to play leads. However they're doing it, maybe they need to know that. Maybe that's how they need to play it. If that's you, then my system may not work for you. But if you're able to train your ear to kind of just gravitate back to whatever key that song is in and what fits best, and you can train your fingers to go back to where that's supposed to be, and you can use those anchor shapes to move around, then you may not need to know all the notes on the fretboard. And I have an answer to the argument of, is it better to play in the key of the song or is it better to follow the chords? And here's what's interesting. The last time I was in a band, we wrote a couple of songs that switched keys. They were in major during verse sections. They were in minor during chorus sections. We moved up an octave when we went to like the last chorus. And over all of this, I played some solos. Now, when I played the solos, I didn't play in the same key over each chord because as the song changed, I changed keys. But I didn't know that I was doing that until I went back later on and I started thinking about what I was playing. And when I realized what I was playing, I was like, oh, well, here I'm playing an E minor, and here I'm playing an A major, and and I just did it intuitively. Because what happened was when the key changed in the song, or when some of the chords changed, and I was playing the solo that I was playing, my brain said, okay, this doesn't sound right, let's change this up and change to something else. So I intuitively changed, which is one of the things that made me think about teaching this as a specific method, the circular nature of the fretboard, finding the anchor shapes, and understanding how to play over any song in any key. It really started making me think about, hey, maybe I need to teach how I do this. Because as I've trained my ears, then what happens is I'm able to play over the part of the song that fits the best. There's been some pop songs that I've done recently. I think the Morgan Wallen song, Last Night. It's in a Lydian mode. And if you listen to that song, you may just think it's a major. But the more I played the lead and what to me sounded best and what fit over that the best, it's Lydian. And you might go back and listen to it and disagree with me and say it's actually in the major key. But I'm just going by my ear and what I'm hearing. And then when I play those notes, it's a Lydian scale. Okay? So it's just one of those things to think about, that if you use this method, it's going to help you train your brain to go back to the keys that are going to fit the best. And then you can force yourself to play outside of those keys. Like maybe you want to choose a different mode to play over a song, even though it doesn't sound like it fits the best, but then it creates a different dynamic. Then again, that's your choice. So that's a benefit of this as well. You know what fits best, you know what doesn't fit best. You know how you can use something that may not fit the best to create a different kind of tension, which allows you to improve your playing in a different way or express yourself in a different way. Okay, the eighth thing that kind of something I need to work on is I'm not that great at tabbing things out. I've been working with some different programs on my computer to either tab sections out that I'm playing for you, or to show you the chord charts. And it's the most tedious thing in the world. It's not something I enjoy doing. I like this. I like getting up and standing up here and teaching. And if I had somebody that I could just hand the SD card to and say, look, go mix this down, go put tabs on it, go put chord charts on it, you know, things like that, then that would be awesome. But I don't have anybody to do that. So it's just me, and I've got to sit down after this video, for instance, and I got to mix all this down. And I've got to, you know, this one I probably won't, because this is more of a tutorial video, talking video. This is more of an explainer video. But for a lot of these videos, I'll go in and add tabs, and I'll add chord charts, and it takes me a minute to do that. And sometimes I tab things out wrong. I think in the last lesson that I did, I tabbed out playing on one fret when it was another fret. And in the comments section, I said, oops, I made a mistake. So always read my comments in my videos, because you might see a pinned comment or something in the description that says that I tabbed it out wrong. And that's just something I got to work on. I got to get better about that, because as I move forward as a teacher, you know, not so much a guitar player, but as I move forward as a teacher, I have to make sure that I'm giving people the right information, right? I got to give them the right information. And this strap is too short. I need to lower it down a little bit. But that's just something I got to do, right? And once I find an easier way to do that, make it a little bit better, I'm going to start trying to tab things out in PDFs as well, so that I can put them out there so that you can go and check those out. If you don't want to spend the whole time watching me talk, you just, hey, I want to get to the lesson, right? Then I can have it all tabbed out for you. But for right now, it's mostly just going to be on the screen, because that's the only thing I'm really able to do right now with fidelity, right? Or to fidelity. So just bear with me on that. My lessons right now are specifically focused on, you know, I'm going to show you something. I want you to practice along with me, and then to give you a lot of, you know, words of wisdom as well, because I think that's something that a lot of people can benefit from. A lot of people are going to say it's a bunch of bunk, that no, just show me how to play the thing and let me play. But some people want the banter. And I found that the banter sometimes can help sugarcoat the lesson. Because if you have a guitar teacher showing you 1,000 different licks in a 5-minute span, it may make you lose interest. But if you have somebody showing you 2 or 3 licks, and then in between those licks, they're explaining the process, then I think there's a good chunk of people out there who want to know that. I do. And, you know, I'm teaching the way that I would want to be taught. I want to know the reason behind certain things. I want to know why this fits here and that doesn't fit there, or why we move from here to here, and things like that, and why this makes sense and that doesn't make sense. And I want to have a little bit of explanation to go behind it, because it's going to help me understand it better and help me take it in a little bit more, so that I can go back and I can practice it and think about it. I want those aha moments, and I'm hoping that I can give you some of those aha moments as well. So tabbing things out on the screen maybe not be my strength, but if I do make a mistake, I'll let you know, and I'm going to try not to make too many mistakes in the future. All right, almost done. Number 9. Number 9 thing that I suck at is theory. So I have a shorts channel, which if you don't know about it, don't worry about it. All I do for the most part is break up these longer lessons and make them into shorts and put it out there. I do that on TikTok. I do that on Instagram. I do that on Twitter. But I don't really do that necessarily to get you to go over there. I do that to get people who watch those things to come over here, because this is the bulk of my information, and this is where I want most people to come and stay, because this is my primary channel. So I do have socials out there, and on those socials, especially my shorts channel, I get a lot of people commenting that I don't understand theory. And I've said this in my own videos before, and I've put this out there on X and socials, and I think I've even sent some emails out about this, that they're right. I'm not traditionally trained. I told my story at the beginning about how, you know, I learned from a friend and picked it up and learned some different things, and went to a teacher here, went to a teacher there, didn't spend a whole lot of time learning it in a traditional fashion, and just picked things from this part and this part and this part, and took what I liked and kind of melded it together in my own unique way of looking at things, which I believe can benefit a lot of people because it helped me, so I think it can help you. So thinking about that story, of course I'm going to play a scale and occasionally say the wrong notes. And it's not that I don't know the notes, it's just that there's some theory that goes behind things, like when do you call something a sharp, or when do you call something a flat? Or what is the name of this? Is this the root? Is this the tonic? Things like that. Now, I'm learning these things because I want to have the right nomenclature. But again, it goes back to that old Shakespeare saying, you know, a rose by any other name will smell just as sweet. And that's kind of how I look at it. And I know I'm going to get some flack for this. That's an A, right? That's an A sharp, but we can also call that a B flat, and there's your B. So that's kind of the way I look at it. Now, if I was talking about a scale, I would have to call one an A sharp. If I was talking about a different scale, I'd call it a B flat. But if I call it the wrong thing, does it detract from the fact that I want you to play the 7th fret on the 6th string? Does that detract from that? And the answer is no. If I tell you the wrong numbers, and then I come back on the screen and I put the right numbers on there, all you got to do is read those numbers and be like, oh, okay, he wants me to play there. Does it detract from the learning? The question is not, do I not understand theory? The question is, do I not understand how to play the guitar? That's kind of the way I look at it. And I put out a video there where I said that I really think people are wrong when they think there has to be one way. And I still stand by that. Because you can learn how to play the guitar without ever understanding a lick of theory. And you can learn how to play it correctly without ever understanding a lick of theory. Now, do I want to understand the theory better? And the answer is yes, because you might learn a lesson from me and then go to a music teacher and get into an argument because I told you something wrong. I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. I just want to make sure that you understand that if I tell you the wrong thing, I totally admit that it's probably because I don't know. So always take what I say when it comes to theory with a grain of salt. Also, something I'm improving, I want to get better at it. And every time I teach something, if I have a chance to sit down and look it up beforehand, because it's hard to do when I'm standing here and teaching, right? It's hard to do when I'm actually in the moment of doing this. But if I can look at it beforehand or look at it afterwards and make a correction to whatever I said, I will. But if I don't, I don't. And it's something you got to think about, you know, when you're looking at my lessons, because I may have it wrong. Because what I want to teach you is to be able to play the scale shapes, to go from here to here to here, and to be able to find melody lines and to map things out and to move the shapes up and down the fretboard and find how they lock together like puzzle pieces and find the circular nature, all that stuff. And everything that I want to teach does not require traditional theory. It doesn't require some of the things that I don't know, you know, off the top of my head that I have to think about, like, you know, exactly where all the notes are on the fretboard and things like that. So there's a trade-off. Do you want to learn how to read sheet music? Do you want to understand the circle of fifths? Do you want to understand the cage method? Do you want to know all of your triads? Do you want to understand every arpeggio? Do you want to understand how to hybrid pick and sweep pick and everything like that? If you want to go all out and be a totally classically trained, you know, like a Berkeley guitarist, then there is that path. But if you want to pick up the guitar and go, then that's what I'm offering. So do I want to go further into my theory understanding? Absolutely. I don't want to stop learning. I want to be a lifelong learner, and I want to keep learning that stuff. And I want to keep helping my students, you know, come along with me as I learn. But if you surpass me, or if you already passed me, or if you're like, I don't want to learn from this guy because I want to learn the stuff that he's telling me he doesn't currently know, that's exactly why I'm making this video. I don't want anyone to be fooled. I want you to look at this and say, okay, here's where he's at. This is his lane. This is where he's at. do I want to be in that lane with him, or do I want to change lanes and go follow somebody else? And that's perfectly fine. And I would rather you do that than waste time with me and then get frustrated because your guitar learning isn't going the way that you want it to. So there's that. And I'm going to keep getting better. I'm going to keep improving myself to help those who do eventually want to learn those things with me learn those things. Hey, we'll get back to the lesson in just a minute. I just want to go ahead and take just a second or 2 or 3 or maybe 5 minutes, I don't know, to tell you about my free course that I got out there. 7 days to unlocking the fretboard, learning the circular shapes of the fretboard, how the shapes themselves connect together like puzzle pieces, and how you can train your fingers to go wherever you want to on the fretboard and move your fingers all over the place and play solos all over the place. You can get this 7-day course at tinyurl.com/DanH411. You can either click there or there or there or there or there, wherever. Maybe I'll stick on my belly and you click right there. But either way, however you click, go get that 7-day course. You sign up for my mailing list and I send you bonuses and promotions and things like that. You can of course unsubscribe at any time, but you get access to the course, and of course you'll always have access to the course even if you unsubscribe. So it's a win-win for everybody. I'd love you to stay signed up though, because I'm always doing bonuses. A lot of times when I do my Patreon bonuses, I make them free for 7 days, but you'll get access to those when I email them to you and I'll let you know where they're at. So another win-win if you stay signed up and everything. So go ahead and go over to tinyurl.com/DanH411, get that 7-day lead guitar course, check that out, and back to the lesson. All right, and this brings me to number 10, the last thing that I suck at on the guitar, and that is playing different scales. Now, I'm really good at playing the Aeolian scale, the natural minor scale, or any of the positions in the natural minor scale. I can pick those up and play those as modes over different chords, as long as they fit pretty well, right? Like I could play your Aeolian, right? I could play your Locrian, your Phrygian, and then all the other ones, right? No reason to go through all of them. But then there are things like the harmonic minor. And then there's this scale, which I forgot what it's called, which is a cool little scale, which if you can work that into a song, it's a really awesome scale. And then there are things like this one. Or this one. All of those have their own unique sound. And that's not to include all the different modes, right? They all have their unique sound. And there's so many things that you could do with all of those. But to be able to say on the fly that I want to play this scale over this song without actually sitting down and mapping it out and figuring out exactly what I want to do, it's just not going to happen. So I'll gravitate back towards stuff like this. And then maybe on the fly I could say, okay, let me put a harmonic minor note in there. Right? Or maybe, one of the things I'm working on, let me put a sweep in there. Or maybe some tapping. See, that was a wrong note. But on the fly, if I would have hit that wrong note, then I would have walked away from that saying, oops, I'm not ready to do that yet. So the thing about it is everything that you could learn, you have to take it in small chunks. Everything's taken in small chunks, and that's exactly what I'm doing. Is I've learned a set of skills. Now I'm going to learn another set of skills, another set of skills, another set of skills. Now how do I practice learning all that? I will practice many things at the same time. Probably not the best idea. Maybe better to say, okay, I want to learn the harmonic minor scale. So let me map out all the 7 shapes of the harmonic minor scale. Let me practice them up and down. Let me write some songs with them. Let me play over some backup tracks with them. Let me work that out until I get that down pat. Then I'll move on to something else. But My fear is, honestly, that I'll get out of practice playing something else. So it's kind of a trade-off there too, right? You want to keep the stuff that you already know. You don't want to get rusty on that stuff, but at the same time, you want to add new stuff in, which is, again, why I try to incorporate everything into this circular idea that I use. Because if I can understand it from that perspective and say, okay, I know that I play this here. The only thing I got to do to make it harmonic minor is this. The only thing that I got to do to make it pentatonic is this. The only thing I got to do to make it blues is this. The only thing I got to do to play that blues scale as a diagonal is this. The only thing I got to do to turn that into a Locrian mode is this. The only thing I got to do to make it Phrygian is this. The only thing I got to do to make that Locrian pentatonic is this. Right? If I can put that into my muscle memory, you know, and then even add in the taps and the sweeps, make it a tapping lick. Make it a sweep lick. Whatever I can put into my bag of tricks, put into my vocabulary, and then keep adding that in there so that I can eventually come back to that and say, okay, when I'm playing in this position, I know there's these 10 things that I can do right here. And all 10 of them have different tonal qualities, and they're going to make it sound interesting and allow me to express myself a little bit differently than the previous one. If I can do that, then what that allows me to do is be a better guitar player, in my opinion. You know, be a better guitar player, in my opinion. It doesn't mean that I am a master at every single one of the shapes, or that I could find all the positions in any shape that I'm playing. But I can find things, tricks, right? More words in my vocabulary that I can gravitate towards, and then I can keep adding to that and adding to that. And if I want to eventually flesh that out and learn all the positions for that particular shape, learn every single triad that I could play along that arpeggio, learn every sweep that's in there, learn 3-note sweeps, 4-note sweeps, 5-note sweeps, 6-note sweeps, learn the different places I can tap, learn how to move up and down the fretboard with my right hand. If I want to add to that, I can. But it just gets more and more expressive. Now, to be a total virtuoso and just to be able to do anything you want to on the fretboard is not necessarily everyone's goal. Maybe you just want to be able to play some really cool shapes in that first box of the pentatonic, or know a couple of different boxes of the pentatonic. Your goal is going to be completely different from mine or anybody else's. But whatever you gravitate towards, know that you want to try to be as good as you can at whatever it is you're doing. Now, a criticism that I have of myself is maybe I'm biting off more than I could chew. Maybe I want to learn too much. But again, that goes back to the very first thing that I said at the beginning of this video, which is I want to teach. And I know that not everybody wants to learn the way that I want to play, and not everybody wants to learn the same things that I want to learn. So for me to be a teacher, I want to be as versatile as possible, even things that I may never play myself. Like some of that hybrid picking that I showed you at the beginning. I like it, I think it's cool, but I don't know if I'll ever use that for my own playing. But I would love to be able to learn it well enough to do a couple of lessons on it, just in case it's something that you want to learn. And even if all you do is get your start with me, and then you move on to another teacher to help you learn it even more, that's fine. I would just love to be able to put that in your brain and say, hey, here's something that maybe you want to play with. Now, throughout this video, I have plugged my various links a few times. I have all my links at Linktree DanH411. I'll put that on the screen. If you want to go check out all my socials, go through and read all the comments of the people criticizing me, then you can go check that out. If you want to check out my TrueFire affiliate program, I got that in there. If you want to sign up for TrueFire and learn from some other teachers, then help support my channel by going to my TrueFire link. It's on the link tree. Go to Linktree, DanH411, and you can click on that TrueFire link. It'll take you to the TrueFire. You can sign up there, and that'll throw a couple of bucks my way. It doesn't cost you anything extra. It just helps support my channel. And then I've also got my Patreon on there, or you can just go to patreon.com/DanH411. But I always want to offer you value. And the value that I offer you, aside from these free lessons right here on YouTube, is I have a free course at tinyurl.com/DanH411. It's a free 7-day course, and it does exactly what I've been showing you this whole video: how to unlock the fretboard, how to find the circular nature of the shapes, the circular nature of the fretboard, how to see it from 1 string to 2 strings to 3 strings, all the way up to 6 strings. Teaches you how to play a few of the different scale shapes, unlock the pentatonic, understand the anchor shapes, and start moving the patterns around so that you can pretty much play any song in any key. Over 7 days, I actually move through several different keys over several different backing tracks, so you can start to hear how just by moving the exact same shapes up and down the fretboard, you're able to play over different songs in different keys. Again, that course is at tinyurl.com/DanH411, and it's completely free. It does sign you up to my mailing list. I will send you emails that tell you about my lessons that I have here right here on YouTube. That will tell you anytime I put a new Patreon out on my Patreon. That will tell you when I have any courses coming up. And we'll also send you occasional email about TrueFire if you want to sign up for that. About 4 times a year, I do like a little promotional thing where I send out about 7 days worth of promotional emails. But usually it's an email once every 3 to 5 days. And you can unsubscribe at any time, and you get to keep the course. It's yours to keep. But I'd like you to stay signed up because I've always got more stuff coming out, and it's a great way to get notifications of my lessons here, because YouTube doesn't always do the greatest job in letting you know when there is a new lesson. So sign up for that at tinyurl.com/DanH411, and I will send you that. And other than that, I don't really have anything else to say in this lesson. I hope I didn't put my heart on my sleeve too much on this one and tell you how much I suck, of the 10 things that I suck as a guitarist. But I just want to be transparent with you and let you know that there are plenty of people out there who are making mistakes. Lots of them aren't showing you their mistakes. You're seeing the product, not the process. I'm all about the process. I want you to see how the sausage is made. I want you to see how it's done, right? So that when you learn all this stuff, you can look back and realize the fruits of your labor. Because it is labor intensive. This does take a long time to learn. But eventually you get to the point where you can reap what you sow, and you can just pick up the guitar and go. And I think I just made up a new tagline. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.